Ah, welcome back, my totally tubular sharkaholics. We're back with the Shark Scale year 4. And today's movie is Shark Lake. Yep, forget the rivers, forget the snow, forget the trailer parks, forget the, I don't know, beach and like the ocean. Nope, we got the lake. The lake is where there's a shark now. We're really running out of steam here, it seems, and we're almost scraping the bottom of the barrel. But hey, maybe this is a hidden gem. Let's take a look.
This looks like Shark Lake, John.
So Shark Lake takes place in Lake Tahoe. Great place, by the way. It begins with this cop arresting this black market exotic species dealer named Clint. And then for some reason this cop takes it upon herself to take care of that dude's daughter. Anyway, many years later, Clint is released from prison. However, he obviously can't see his daughter because she put in a restraining order and all that other stuff. Anyway, a bit later, some mysterious attacks happen in the lake, and it gets deemed that it could potentially be, a shark. I mean, does Clint have anything to do with it? The black market species salesman? Maybe. But either way, we got a shark on our hands in the lake. So yeah, there's a shark in Lake Tahoe. I mean, I never would have thought that that would be a movie, but here we are. And the plot isn't that bad. I mean, it is pretty corny, it's pretty silly, it is a bit contrived in a few areas, but it's not that bad. The characters at least have some motivation and personality. I wouldn't say they're all that great, and Clint really is about as interesting as a block of wood. I mean, he's really basic and just kind of boring and just kind of relaxed, but the cop lady's pretty good, the daughter, she's alright, and the other characters, well, the less said about them, the better. The plot here is fine. I mean, it could have been much, much worse. It doesn't really do anything, again, all that exciting. It doesn't really even take advantage of the fact that it's Lake Tahoe, honestly. And yeah, it's just alright at best. I mean, it's passable, it's decent enough, and that's really it. But what about the shark? The shark kind of follows suit as well, as it's fine enough, it's decent enough, but it's not exactly great. It's not groundbreaking, it doesn't do anything interesting really, and it looks okay. When it comes to the animation of the shark and just how it looks, it usually is pretty well protected with either the water or just the dark atmosphere, and you're able to just kind of mask most of it because it really doesn't look all that great. But I mean, it's passable. I've seen worse. It did come out a few years ago now, like 5-6 years ago, and for the time it looked okay, but not exactly great. Sadly, the kills, really nothing special, very unremarkable, not memorable, and there's nothing you haven't seen before. Like, it's very generic. I mean, the people that take them are pretty alright when it comes to getting killed, but there's no detail, there's no gore, there's really not much to be seen. I mean, it's very average to lowering average. I mean, there's just not all that much to talk about with them. I mean, they're pretty basic. And the screen time is decent enough also. I mean, the shark is built up a little bit before you see it, and then near the end, of course, it does show up quite a bit. And there are a few other sharks that make tiny little appearances here and there in the movie, but there's just really not all that much to even comment on. I mean, it's fine, it's there, it's not like absent almost the whole movie, it is there for most of the movie, but again, just nothing special. So let's talk about the acting now. Maybe this is a bit better. The main actor that was billed for this movie is obviously Dolph Lundgren, and he, as Clint, was alright. I mean, he really was just kind of phoning it in, and I'll be honest, he just seems kind of wasted in this movie. I mean, he's the only one that's actually pretty decent at acting for the most part, and even he doesn't do that well of a job. I mean, he's just kind of there. It feels like he was just playing it by the numbers, read the script, was getting a paycheck, and didn't really give a shit what was going on. And you can kind of tell, like, he just didn't really care all that much. And all the other actors and actresses, I mean, there just wasn't really much to talk about with them. I mean, the main cop, Sarah Malakal Lane, said that correctly, she was alright. She could have been worse, she could have been better. I mean, she was just pretty middling. I'd say that she was just a step under the main character, and yeah, they were just kind of there. Everyone else, less said the better, honestly. It was like just like the characters in the movie. I mean, it just was kind of there. I mean, the acting was typical cheesy B-movie acting, and didn't really go past that. It wasn't funny, it wasn't so bad it's good, it wasn't really mediocre either, it was just very middling. And that's a good way of describing this movie, is very middling to mediocre. I mean, it doesn't do anything you haven't seen before other than it being Lake Tahoe. The actors don't exactly do a phenomenal job and are just kind of there. The sharks just kind of there. The kills, again, just kind of there. And I mean, it looked decent enough, but this movie doesn't go out of its way to impress or even be above average. I would say at its very best, it's average, and for the most part, it's a very mediocre movie. This was a mediocre experience. I kind of felt like I low-key wasted my time watching this and was like, wow, I put this movie off for all this time for this? Like, because I always saw this movie on the side on like Amazon Prime or whatever, and like I just was like, oh, I'll watch it eventually, and I finally watch it now and I'm just like, this really wasn't worth it. This was just not worth my time and wasn't really all that memorable. It certainly was one of the more unremarkable movies I've seen this year, and it didn't do anything like horrible, but it didn't do anything good either. I mean, it was, again, just very middling, mixed bag, like, it kind of exists and that's it. And with that, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 on the shark scale, because it just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it's not that good of a movie. I don't recommend it. It could have been much worse, don't get me wrong, but it's just not worth wasting your time with, honestly. And maybe the next movie will be better. We'll see. See you then.